It's 8 o'clock. Welcome to June 17th version of the Commissioners meeting. There are Title VI forms on the back table. If anyone cares to fill those out, they can be returned to the auditor's office. You'd all stand. I'd like to ask Dana Parker to lead us in the pledge, followed by the prayer.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, Father, we thank you for allowing us to live in this country and in this county. We pray, Lord, that you will work through these people who have a heart for this community. Pray for a spirit of cooperation, spirit of working together for the good of our neighbors. We pray for our neighbors and friends who have to be out in this heat this week. Ask for your care over them, give them wisdom and safety as they work. We pray also, Lord, that you will work through each of us to demonstrate the kind of love that you have for us to each other. Bless this meeting now, Lord. Your grace. Pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you. Minutes of June 3rd. Any questions, corrections, additions?
I would ask you for any additions in the meeting minutes I need to approve. Second.
Claims.
I didn't have any questions. The only thing with claims, there's a whole lot of miscellaneous on various things. It's getting to the point now where I almost have to go through the entire cost of every single claim, figure out what a lot of this is. We can just get some more detail from different departments. That would be helpful. I move to approve. I'll second.
Payroll. June 7th. For $362,463.30.
I move to approve payroll. I'll second.
I want to note that there was some mutation on the person. Glad to see that start coming, so we can try to figure out what that is. And revisit the discussion as to how much of that we as commissioners want.
I'm gonna move you back to the end because the bid opening's not till 9 o'clock, so.
Okay.
Kenny?
Good morning, commissioners, and everyone with us. Since our last meeting, I had 30 inspections, 20 new building permits, plan reviews, 3 permit renewals. I had 3 of the letters that were sent to the Lake McCoy property owners picked up, labeled return to sender. Sure what to do about those. I have talked to several other letter receivers, and cleanup is underway. The vehicles and campers being removed. The burned house cleanup will soon be underway. Talk to that property owner. I plan on a follow-up visit this week out to Lake McCoy. I've also talked to the Clay Township trustee. And burning cleanup is underway. Several structures being demolished. I want to also visit Bernie this week to report their progress. I received a call from a homeowner putting in an above ground pool. Asked them to come in to the area plan office and show us where the pool is going. It turns out that they installed pool over a property line. Being a permanent accessory structure, Krista informed them that the pool must be no less than 15 feet from the property line. So they will have to move the pool and deck back from the property line at least 15 feet. Last week I was called by a property owner in Westport wanting me to attend a meeting at the Westport Town Hall about a structural integrity of his house. Presented by an engineer that Westport contacted. I immediately called Jack Smith and he advised me not to attend because Westport is an incorporated city, so they take care of them. And that's all I got.
I don't have anything for you this meeting, Kenny.
Thanks, Kenny.
Yep, thanks a lot. Thanks for sending the letters out. Seems like people are working on it with just the notification. Is what we wanted.
Yeah. Mr. Smith.
So the first thing on the list is we're back on the park ordinance that was on the second reading last time. Both amendments were brought up. I have sent you all with a new copy. Most subsequent changes being removal of the misdemeanor state statute and using it as a local ordinance violation for the penalty section. And then there is a provision that's added that would allow the commissioners more discretion in opening these up to certain events in the individual parks properties. So put in and the catch-all provision to give you guys discretion in how you would like to handle case-by-case matters.
I thought the provision to allow different groups or entities to petition to allow alcohol for an event was important. So that if there is some kind of fundraiser or an event that would be raising money and they would want to be able to sell alcohol at their event at one of the parks during that event, that's not covered by the DORA agricultural park. I thought that it was important to be able to have that flexibility so that we could accommodate that event to help raise money or to promote some type of and their cause.
I think as long as I'm reading correctly, we took what was the park's rules, no alcohol at all. And now are letting special exceptions everywhere into that as long as the commissioners are there. I think that's what we have to do all of those things. But we still maintain the rule that for the most part, within the area.
And so Chad, originally the penalty was a misdemeanor, is that correct?
Yes, there was a state statute that talked about public venues of entertainment and such that included parks within their definition. So the original ordinance was based on that statute, and now removed that penalty section, and now it's just an infraction ordinance violation.
Similar to a traffic ticket.
Similar, yes, but even lower to an extent because only within our own ordinance system.
There. Oh, go ahead.
This is just for parks that are owned for control by the board of commissioners, right?
Yes.
Doesn't include any of the parks that are owned by townships or private entities.
I think the intent is that the Decatur County Board of Commissioners are putting money into a place, maintain some level of discretion and say over that place. So there is a distinguishing mark between owned and controlled. That's-
Yeah. And I think that's a clean way to do it, anything, instead of trying to figure out which ones they should do.
Is there any discussion?
Anyone out there have any questions about it? Public?
Since it's been adjusted, it's still second. Technically, it's third now, right?
It is set where it can be passed and approved, yes.
And do you have an ordinance number we can assign?
I'll make a motion to pass the alcohol park ordinance.
I'll second.
I will concur. Thank you, Chad.
So then the next thing I have is the YMCA Lien restrictive covenant. This is under the Oprah grant that they've been approved for under new group. The state is requiring another form by both the Y and the county, which is all it says is that the Y in accepting this money or the lien and covenant on the deed book. And they have to continue to operate the Y as the Y for 5 years. But they can't take the money and then change it and alter it. So it's a form straight from the state of Indiana. That is really no requirement upon us as a county other than signing it and letting the Y record it through top of their deed. And the way this is going to work, it's Shannon, McLeod, the grant writer for the Y. What we're asking for today is you guys vote and approve this, but then Mark, you will get with her and notary and sign off all at once so she can then get the form passed through. We're just looking for approval today for Mark to sign that. I'll make a motion to go ahead and approve the YMCA lien covenant so that they can continue on their project to rehab the room.
So, concur. You want this back or do I give this again? Maybe.
Which is that?
You
Yeah,
want
you put on
this back?
go from there.
What else you got?
So I'll go ahead and start off the Fletcher power agreement stuff. Brian, I don't know if you have anything you want to jump in with, but we've got two different things going at the same time with these guys. So first, the road use agreement. I have passed through some information to you guys over the past 10, 12 days. A week ago Wednesday, they said, "Where are we?" I responded to him a week ago Friday and said, we had passed through our revisions a month ago and have never gotten anything back. This past Wednesday, I got an email from him that said, "Well, here's the clean copy and here's our working copy. We've accepted all your changes. Are we ready for signature?" And looking at their copy versus our copy, that wasn't the case. I have now twice asked him what happened to my revisions in paragraphs 10 and 12. He has ignored those requests and continues to tell me that they've accepted our proposal unchanged. The two significant changes in 10 and 12 are, one, paragraph 10 deals with their security deposit money. And I don't think we have a problem with that, but then there's a sentence at the very end tagged on that says acceptance of that relieves them of all, any and all future liability. And I would never recommend leaving somebody an entire liability. It's great if the security deposit covers, but if it's short or there's litigation, I would stand as an opposing attorney and argue that county relieve me of all other liability, we're done. Been unaddressed to this point. Commissioners need to decide if that is a make or break provision, if you're going to accept their alteration or demand something in the middle or language, but releasing them of liability and agreement. As an attorney, I would never recommend. The other change that was removed without comment was in paragraph 12, which deals with road repairs and right to inspection. They had originally put they would provide reasonable notice prior to making any repairs to our roadways. I had struck that with prior notice. Obviously, right to inspect doesn't do much good if it's already been changed. They struck prior and returned it reasonable, which is not defined anywhere in the road use agreement. So what they believe is reasonable might not be what you believe is reasonable. And I'm not sure what the reason behind this is, that it was done without comment or without telling us that it was done. So that's problematic to me, but it's up to you guys whether or not these are acceptable provisions to move forward on road use agreement or back again.
I know I don't like the word reasonable in anything because that's so undefined anywhere as to what's reasonable. So if they don't like prior, we need to at least define what is 60 days, 90 days. I mean, something is reasonable at a week. It's not necessarily a different conversation. It could be 90 days. Make decisions.
Yeah, I mean, I for both of these, I think these are both issues that we need to have hammered out, because especially on the security issue, I'm concerned about the possibility of having damage above the vehicle back here, what we would be covered with. So no, I believe that we need to make these alterations. I think that we need them to ensure that the county does not incur any future liability from this project. So yes, I think that we need both provisions.
And I will take that back to them, and we will see where it leads. Second part of what we're doing with them is the decommission agreement. I know Brian has been heavily involved in that, and Jeremy, you have too. I believe the last thing was they came back and accepted almost everything we had proposed. Brian sent through an email highlighting the changes and differences. So I would probably turn that discussion over to him if you guys had further questions or where you want to go with that.
Biggest change, and I kind of over actually did accept compromise on timetable. Separation fund establishment, but according to the Indiana statute, similar projects. One thing they did contest with is the litigation after use of the restoration fund. Will be tapped into only if business itself cannot decommission site. How that's formed is mutually agreed as expert case estimates. He 5 years. But they thought going through that process was going to be additional essentially like
I mean, it sounds like they're positioning them the two agreements. What's the same, which is they're going to give an X amount of money in the pool That's, they believe the end of their lack of ability and obligation county, which, I mean, I'm not a construction guy. I'm not a deal with what the possibilities are, and could be left short. No idea how to know.
And the road use is set now. They said like per mile or something. Set.
Yeah, it's a number per mile, I believe is what the road use said.
Well, and we're agreeing on, as far as like an expert to come in and assess the damage or.
Again, asking for a release of all further obligations for something that may occur in 20 years. Again, I would never recommend releasing an obligation like that when it's unknown.
Is road use stable because we did insert the road use of a all road repairs and such on the decommission. And they agreed. Uh, additional language in that. But the same respect, you know, from, I guess, counties, from the business side, I guess their approach would be, hey, we put this fund together, you guys had input, what you thought it was going to be, I think it's going to be more.
I think the hard part is that they're then asking us to predict things that we don't have the expertise to predict.
And that's,
I mean, unforeseeable circumstances, I think what we're talking about. So if we agree to a fund and then all of a sudden it's just construction and I'm going to go and do this, I put in most of the costs I think I'm going to incur in my estimate, but it doesn't mean that there's all of them. All of a sudden we get into something and there's lead in the ground or an ancient burial ground or whatever, when the cost goes up. So as a county, I mean, we don't have to incur extra costs, not foreseeable. So when we say, hey, we're done at this point, and we're taking on liability for everything after. Like that's the thing. Is that we can't do everything.
Well, and my other concern too, with the security on the road use is it does have that set amount, 210,000. And I believe that would be sufficient today per mile. I can do that, but I don't know what's in the future.
Well, I guess an incorporated road use into the commission is it to be updated according to your times and standards.
Yeah.
So the road use for current, I mean, likely we'll see some price spike over the next 6 months, by the time that they're doing this job, maybe. But, you know, it's going, that will be close on the front end, so long as it's movable on the back end. You know, the estimated cost, I think probably our per mile doesn't change a ton, but that's a per mile estimate for repairing and replacing. But if unknown issues are caused, it doesn't matter. They're saying it doesn't matter what we do. You're capped at this amount if we're not willing to back up our number, and that is not a position we would want to be on the wrong side of.
guess I would ask what's been kind of policy in the past for.
Well, I don't know that we've had a policy with decommissioning involved,
Yeah,
because the construction side of the road damage is one thing, but if they have to decommission it and move it out,
Okay.
it could be the same. I don't want one road use agreement to have to cover both ends. In other words, if they're putting up,
Yeah.
it has to be the same on both ends.
Yeah.
If they have to take them out.
This road use agreement. But we put a reference to the sort of repairs and such on decommission.
So it's covered. Okay.
I would say from the county side, just trying to kind of mediate parties or whatever. Having had a road use agreement in the past within the project that we could have a standard.
I think the last one they had, according to Tim, because I wasn't around, was the gas line.
Had to pull their bond.
I think that's why when we first got this, kind of come through it pretty heavy just to make sure because of this experience with the pipeline. So
I think to answer your question, yes, we have one. And this is probably the lessons learned about.
Yeah.
So not necessarily wanting to use that as the guidelines.
Because we have to chase them. I mean, we had to get their bond to make up for repairs.
See, that's a perfect example. That predates me, and that's a perfect example for why I think we need to make sure that we're protected.
When you say full bond cover, then
Bond covers the repairs, but we had to take the bond.
and that's essentially that.
Mhm.
Yeah, I still think that we need those provisions in there.
I will take it back to them.
And we probably discussed the decommissioning as well, just kind of how to do it. Keep them together.
Fair committee bylaws, Jeremy?
So, for the last year, I've raised discussions about creating a new fair committee. So the commissioners are not the ones that are in charge of putting the fair on. But I wanted to go through and actually draft new bylaws to create a new entity. And so I've gone through, I've done that now. We've had several different drafts. And so I don't know if there's anything else that you guys want to see, or if you're ready to go ahead and vote on those.
Thoughts, we need to put them out for the public to
That's fine.
see. See if there's any comment. We can post them in the courthouse, online.
We can absolutely do that. No other revisions or anything at this point.
Oh.
Tony?
I'm good.
The biggest change is, I think, when you look at it, there's a capped number of actual voting members on the board or on the committee. All of the finances will be ran through the courthouse. All of the property is the commissioner's property. The fair is put on by the new fair committee. Any capital improvements will be done specifically by Board of Commissioners. I think those are probably the biggest changes that you will see from what used to happen at the old fair committee. The commissioners would appoint the initial fair committee for staggered years. And then from there, a group designated by the commissioners, the council, and the 4-H extension would put together basically a selection committee to replace board members in the future, so that it's not just the fair committee selecting their new members. It would be similar to what some of these other boards do to select people. Yes, Mr. Ray.
Will these be starting next year? So the plan is?
So the commissioners will obviously run the fair that is set to kick off here in 3 weeks. And then going forward from there, the new fair committee will be in place so that they can run the fair in 2025. Biggest reason why, I guess backstory wise, why I wanted to see this, because I didn't want the fair to be subject to elections. Right now, with the commissioners running it, it is in a lot of ways subject to elections, because if, like what happened this year with Mark and Tony losing, my concern would be we have people coming in that don't know or don't have that passion for 4-H. And I don't want the fair to suffer. I want the kids to have a lesser fair going forward in the future. So I wanted to make sure that we had a fair committee in place of people that actually know about the fair, they care about it, they have a vested interest in it. So that's why I wanted to see a fair committee actually come back, so that we can make sure that 4-H continues its path and continue to provide something that the kids here in Decatur County can enjoy.
If I'm not gonna test it. I'm not fair experience. I am basically just a bump on the log that gets told what to do, and that's all my input to it has been. So having the right people on that committee is very important. bringing the capital improvements to commissioners meetings and forth, and then having the auditor's office be able to review expenses out there is, I think, takes care of most of the previous conversations or concerns.
Thank you for doing this.
We'll have that. We can go ahead and post that outside of your office, Patty, here in the courthouse, and then I know Tony and I can post it on our Facebook. Chris, if you have any interest in doing anything with the WTRE.
Yeah, I can do that. And I also post it. You want to post it on the Fairwood Facebook?
Sure.
Daily news, likewise.
Absolutely. Yep. Just give me an email address after the meeting and we can go ahead and do that.
Okay, any questions on that? Next, I have the Highway Department financing. At the end of the project, there's a outstanding balance of $832,594.91. There was $111,000 and some change in bill Decatur County Fund, which the State Board of Accounts would like for us to eliminate. There's no fund source for that fund. So they would, so Janet suggested we pay $111,645.54 down on that balance. Greg Martz at GM Development has agreed to finance the project for 5 years at an interest rate of 5%. Semi-annual payments would be $82,245.04. And those would be January, June, is that right, Janet?
December.
June. We have a tick over $80,000 a month coming in from edit. So 1 month of edit would take care of a 6 month payment. We're drawing 5 3/10, almost 4/10 on our investment money. So we're speaking with Ruben, financial advisor. He said leave our cash alone. Be making a little bit of money on our interest. In case something did come up, cash is available. Have an interested financer of 5%. So, you know, also, if you want to proceed with that financing, pay schedule.
I think that's course of action. As far as the Decatur County Fund, do we need to vote to use that money, basically close that line?
That
Or
fund,
is that, yeah?
I would like the folks to close it, that way it's reported. But again, it was separated out of that. The rules changed. But for the back end,
We need to update and change our economic development improvement plan. Last time that was updated, looks like 2021.
I would suggest that for 2025. Currently, you could make a payment out of rainy day, which is already appropriated. And that's up to you. But the funds are in a rainy day for the December committee if you wish. And because you might want to add something else or take something out.
As he works 25 budget.
So our total annual expenditure then out of edit for this project would be 160.
Basically 164,500.
basically.
What's the annual revenues in that count?
80 a month.
So we'll have to project income for that until October.
That's just based on this year's.
No, I think that we go ahead and proceed with this plan, taking the 111,000 out of bill for Decatur County, applying it to principal, and agreeing to the 5%. We're making more interest on our.
And also, it's in the BOT agreement, it is already set up with the state for him to finance, so there'd be no extra charges. As if we went to a bank, there'd be $25,000 or $30,000 with legal fees, and we're eliminating that.
How much extra? You said that our investments were earning slightly over 5. You know that number?
5.345.
5.3295, bringing in about 10,000, a little 10,000 a month, Jeremy. Yeah, it is. In interest.
The only other option that we have is to pay for it out of our investments, pay us back, pay ourselves back the same interest. So that way we're taking the money, the 5% instead of GM development.
Making 3/10.
We are, but we could pay ourselves back
Then it goes back into our pockets.
instead of paying GM development. That money.
If you need that cash, that was just Ruben's suggestion when we spoke to him.
What do we need it for? We've got $2.3 million in ed savings. I'm starting the full conversation now. Question becomes, what are we saving it for? What are we putting it there? What's the intent of having a large cash balance in this account specifically?
Dana here, over here, I can feel it.
We either need to ask for additional for your rainy day or change your plan, which just keeps pushing things out. I think it's 831,000 that your edit plan costs or that's appropriated. So you need to deduct that from your point whatever it is. Because we do have obligations like the EDC. And possibly a little bit it's in there to Krista for her. But
Yep, so total budget out of lit is 36,000 to ready grant ARPA funds, EDC 60,000. Comp plan is 10,000 and highway improvements is 100,000.
we just spent our part of that highway because that's grant our lease for the grader.
Right, but that's, I'm just talking
Yeah.
total budget for the year for those lines. I've got it pulled up. So we have $312,500 in rainy day and Decatur County. And we spent $121,429 out of rainy day. Total location budget left for the year is $584,332. So the question is, what are we saving money? We keep saving money and earning interest. What are we saving it?
Well, I think to be prudent, we need to have some money in savings. If an auto strike came to Honda, that $80,000 a month would go away pretty quick. Or in effect, all the auto suppliers factories also in town. Here just recently, the union tried to come into Honda. I don't know where they're getting any traction.
I don't believe that they did. That was
They raised their pay 17% since the first of the year. To avoid that. So, not sure that's it.
Looking at the location budget. With the 312,500 that's currently in Decatur County, where it's being used 111,000.
Because it's not in.
Our total budget from lit 1112 minus rainy day and bill Decatur County is $206,000. We're budgeting 831, but I think the last time we talked was another $800,000 or $900,000 extra. Above what that budget is for projected annual income.
Other than you getting together and adopting a new plan.
My question is, our lit is maxed out. The highest tax rate is. We're currently discussing building or not building a pool. That is $6.2 to $6.5 million. The last Mr. Coors updated us, the council said we can afford $4 million. I'm trying to figure out how to pay for this in a pool potentially. Why do we have $2.3 million in the savings account? And we have an excess of $700,000 in lit. We're not figuring out how to utilize that money versus just saving and what we're saving it for if we're saving. What the goal of saving is. So if we don't want to spend it on a pool, and we're not going to use it, we're discussing using it for the highway, why do we keep the tax maxed out?
That's not our decision. Tax it, that's the council. We got Park Road project that's gonna hit us one of these days.
Todd told me he thought that could come out of highway budget. I asked that question.
I think I just had a discussion with Jan. Because in Human Bridge budget, I've had designated for Marquette, I'm taking that over, like 50,000 for bridge inspection, 50,000 for bridge 236, 50,000 for bridge 131. Anything that's a federal aid project has to have its own funding. Okay. Janet, Christie, and I talked through that just last week because budget's due this month. I need some direction on which way we need to go. There should be a fund set up for each federal aid job. And any money coming out of there should come out of that particular fund. Versus out of the location budget on mine that doesn't have that fund number. So.
But that funding in your Cume Bridge is the county's 20%.
Correct.
That has to go into that.
That's correct.
That's why you're 50,000 on Home Street.
Yeah. So I mean, just like when Bridge 236 land, I got a bill from NDOT for $295,000. That's our 20% we needed to pay.
That's 4 years of your 50,000.
Yes.
So you only do a bridge every 4 years then?
Well, usually it's like Bridge 141. Bridge 131 left PE, so they're in the design stage. Bridge 141 is slated for 2029, 2030. So it's like a 6 or 7 year process.
But you need to keep budgeting that 50 to go into that. So you have it.
Correct.
Because 50,000 today, building a bridge, and 50,000 in 2030 is only going to be half of that or a third of that.
Yes.
So you're not getting rich very fast.
Okay, so do you pay for the Park Road project or not? Does Edit need to pay for that?
Maybe a chunk.
Yeah.
I mean, because highway is subject to a gas tax.
It goes back to the conversations we've been having since last fall. What do we have to pay for? Where's it coming from? Where's our plan? How do we make decisions on major projects? Pool now, remainder of the highway garage. the next radio 2.0 fairground projects, park road project, without knowing what all these things are. When I look at, we can afford a pool, $5 million loan at 5%, $4 million loan, 5% is $363, $363,000 a year. We can use rainy day plus our surplus and edit to do that and never touch our savings account for the short. But if we have to save it for something, what are we saving it?
Well, I think as far as edit goes, I think that Park Road is a definite concern. As well as other projects like the animal shelter. I'm not opposed if we want to do the loan with GM development so that we continue to accrue more interest on our investments. I'm not opposed to the idea of making a higher upfront principal payment out of edit to lessen our financial obligations to GM development long term, because then if a strike does happen or something like that where our revenue for edit is diminished in the future, we would have a smaller payment, just like making a higher payment up front when you go and buy a car.
I'm trying to look at the package. I mean, it's a package conversation. How are we paying for everything? What are we killing? What are we getting rid of? Are we saving money to save money? Or are we have payment? Are we killing the pool? It's on the thing for later, but it's a package conversation, how to pay for stuff. Are we getting rid of the Ready 2.0 project that's $4 million? What are we paying for and what are we not? Same conversation we're trying to have since November. How are we going to do this? What are we doing? We went from a $6 million budget on the board to a $4 million budget. I don't know how the numbers change. If it's edit and we can use edit as commissioners, do we want to do that? If not, why? Because edit, for the information I have, can afford it. I still have plenty of cushion.
Courthouse is gonna, the shingle part of the courthouse, we've been told this last week is gonna have to be replaced.
Would come out of Coon Catholic, right? That's what Coon Catholic is for. Edit's supposed to be economic development. Coon Catholic is supposed to be building updates and taking care of capital developments for the county, right? We just maxed it out last year too.
And that was to help pay for the annex work. Cooncat.
Overall, my biggest concern with doing all of the projects is that we're stretching ourselves too thin.
But do we know that?
I think looking at the numbers, if we pay for the highway garage and we pay for the pool, I think that's stretching ourselves too thin. That if something happens in the future, we don't have money in the accounts to be able to continue for years. Would we be okay for a year?
But
Yes.
what's edit supposed to pay? What's it safeguard? Edit is supposed to be economic development.
That is.
It's supposed to further economic development. Is it supposed to be a savings account for the general fund?
Well, what do you think it needs to pay?
Economic development.
I know, but what
The pool would be economic. Things that increase your economy and bring things. And again, it's a commission, like it's the commissioner's account, right? Like, what's the commissioner's plan? What are we using our local income tax edit for? What are we using $2.3 million in savings plus $960,000 this year of revenue? Because I've got $206,000 in there that's budgeted, plus then the rainy day and the duplicated account. So it's $625,000 that are basically open line. But what are we using them for? What's the projects that we're wanting? If not the pool, I mean, what else?
To me, Kim Kaplan has money for it. That's cash that there's already budget in there. To me, that's a backup. Kim Cap, because it's, AC, HVAC goes out on any building. Kim Cap couldn't cover more than one building.
So we're using economic development money to maintain the county buildings.
I said it's a backup.
But I mean, that's, if it's being kept as backup, that's what it's being.
That's just my opinion.
So the council said 4 million. That means they come up with $1 million. Is that out of it? Or
I haven't.
because if it's from a non-edit source, then we only have to come up with 2 million. Out of that.
Danny, do you have an idea of where the money for 4 million comes from?
Just borrow it. Extra million. It's all that payment out of one of them. Do up billing.
It's gonna be hard if we don't know what projects they're
Right.
gonna appropriate.
What they're gonna appropriate.
Well, in
The deal
January,
with March is good. As far as the interest we're dragging on our cash. Because if you take what Tony's talking about, we've got excess cash. Total county budget this year, 32 million, Jan? You cover the whole
Yes.
county,
Yes.
32 million. You're talking about 10% what the total county budget is what we've got backed up. That's not very much money.
so we're saving edit to cover the county budget.
Pardon?
So we're saving edit, economic development money to cover the county backup.
Well, part of it, and part of it is county general too.
But is
We
that
haven't
what
got
we
a county
should be
general
doing?
that's probably
Economic
invested.
development money to cover the budget.
Do
Or
I?
should it be going to economic? And we're taxing it as economic development to do these things. Isn't that what it should go to?
I'm kind of like Janet, we kind of use it as a backup.
It was adopted to pay for the addition to the courthouse. That's not why the economic development, that was a need.
Infrastructure, isn't it?
Right.
It's all for infrastructure. I don't know how you find infrastructure, entertainment. It's infrastructure.
And there's provision in there in Marx's contract, I want Chad read it or not. You can make an early payoff anytime you want.
And I think that's a possibility.
That's
I
just,
don't personally like the idea of draining our account, but if we can pay it off early, I don't mind that idea. If we can make, an extra payment every year for the project. If we have surplus money, I think that's.
and I did a little bit of the math on it. It's about 80,000 a month coming in at it normal. And according to the treasurer, there's not, well, right at 10,000 a month coming in on interest from it. So you're really not using 2 months worth of it for the payment. And his interest at 5% in 1 year, we're making 120,000 interest. He's only charging us a little over 100 for 5-year interest.
I have no issues paying the county highway. That's not really the purpose, I guess, of the conversation. We have other things on the table we have to figure out how to pay for it. So when we talk about spending out of that, I'm thinking about all of the conversations we're having, or at least the conversation also.
Where, let's deal with the first one here first. Where are you on the financing agreement with GM Development? Okay, so do the 5%, 5 years, with the plan of taking the 111,000 out of Decatur County, applying it to the outstanding balance of $832,594, which gets us to $720,000 outstanding to GM Development. So you're good with that, Tony?
Yeah.
Mark?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I'll make a motion. If there's any further discussion that you have, I'll make the motion to go ahead and accept the terms as presented by GM Development for financing to pay for the remaining outstanding balance of the Highway Department.
I'll second.
Now, you want to discuss your swimming pool?
I swimming pool? I think it's the county swimming pool, but.
So there was a informational meeting that RL Turner held last week for us on the various proposals of what was available for different dollar amounts. There was one for 6.5 million, the second option
6.9.
for 6.9. And then there was some discussion about a pool that was done at I think it was a summer camp that with labor planning, deposits, things like that, it would have been about $4 million. $4 million pool was half the size of what our current pool is, with one slide and 2 basketball goals on each end, and a step entry into the pool. The $6.5 million pool had a one slide, what looked to be a playground area in the shallow end of the pool, 0 entry sloped pool. I think that one had 4 or 5 different like lap lanes in it, and then the 6.9 just had a larger shallow end play area, 0 entry area. My personal opinion is the $4 million pool. If we're going to be spending the money on it, I think the $4 million pool is not enough. It's smaller than what we have. The amenities that we have in that pool are no different. It's actually less than what we have right now. We don't have the dining well. So there's less to do. We would be in the same exact situation that we're in right now, where it's going to be underutilized. That's my concern on the $4 million pool. I just don't think it's worth the money that we would be spending for something long-term here in the community.
Gross.
Yeah, it's just not. It was 3,500. I think it was 3,500 square feet of surface water space. And this was just where we were getting information. There weren't any discussions. It was us asking our in different groups what we could get for different amounts, because everybody's throwing around different numbers of what we could do. So the $4 million pool was like 3,500 square feet of water surface area. I just don't think a $4 million pool is worth building. The $6.5 million pool, I think, fits what we need, and it can be designed in a way that if we wanted to have a second slide in the future, we can add that. But my concern is how we pay for it. That's my concern.
I have the same. Like I said, I've been looking at it, I've been calculating it, I've been running the 5% interest rate. We can afford it out of it without touching the savings. It's under $385,000 a year. So it doesn't even max it.
Did you calculate that in if we have to pay for Part 3?
No, because that was what Park Road was paid for. I asked that question, was it was paid for?
Those numbers with me, unfortunately. Yeah, it's
1.8 million, no Park Road dollars. That's our share. Yeah, and that's not paid all at once. We should already be paying some of those bills. They'll come in. Of course, we do still have to go in and acquire the properties that we need to do that.
My general feeling on it right now is that $6.5 million is stretching the county too thin financially. Can we afford it? Yes. I don't. There's people have asked me, how is it the county can't afford something like this? I think the answer is we can. The question is, should we? Is the true debate there. We have the financing or the financial capability to do that. It's just, should we, with Park Road project, highway department, at some point we're going to have to address the animal shelter. And then, as we've discussed previously at other meetings, we have a highway department shortfall coming down here in a couple of years that has to be addressed. I'm concerned that if we do that project, if we do the pool, even at 6.5, if you're able to, there were things in these designs that we could cut out. Trees around a pool, inside the fence, grass inside the fence around a pool. I mean, those are things that I would say we cut out. Buying the chairs through them, the awnings or the umbrellas through them, those are things that I think we can cut out to get the number down. But is it going to come down substantially? I don't see it coming down substantially from eliminating trees and grass. You're going to be putting concrete in instead. So your price is going to basically be the same. I don't think that financially it's the right thing to do at this point. So the funding that we have available right now for it is Ready 1.0, 1.5, ARPA 1.5 million. And so if we aren't going to do the full project, I would like an answer as soon as we can get one, because we can reallocate where the ARPA funds are going to go. And we have other needs in this community that we can put that money to. And those funds have to be designated for a project by the end of this year. So I would like us to make that decision so that we can figure out where those funds are going, because I want them onto a project where we have a true need, whether that's the shelter, the animal shelter, or something else.
If we're going to pull our Ready 1.0 project, should we pull our Ready 2.0 project? Can't afford the pool and Ready 1.0, we should pull the Ready 2.0 project there.
I haven't given that much consideration at this point. Mark, what's your feeling on the pool?
Pretty much agreeing with you. I think it all goes back to how this all was started. We can't change any of that. But my thoughts were, as setting on the Ready team, was to maybe swap the pool for the 2.0 project. That would get it another $500,000. The 2.0 project's got $2 million in it, which is the fairgrounds improvements. Move the pool back to the 2.0. Like I said, would gain $500,000. The project at the fairgrounds could get by on the 1.55 that's there. We have 400,000 set aside at the foundation for part of the match. And I think that fundraising campaign could raise the rest of the match. Not the county any dollars. And it wouldn't kill the pool project. I just hate to send back, as Brian knows, that 1.5 million, but we've got to get on with the project of some sort here real quick. We got a ready meeting tomorrow.
So there's no government match requirement for the fairgrounds.
There is, we've got, that's 400,000 we've got set aside, and the fundraising campaign could qualify for some of that too. Decatur County put $400,000 at the foundation. The ready projects they're not one-on-one, the matches. The matches are all figured on the regions as a whole. So some projects have more private money involved, which, am I correct, Brian, in saying that?
Yeah, it is by portfolio, but if that fact is going to change, if we add up everybody on the private side, everybody on the public side, so that change. Is that change?
And what's the, sorry about that.
No. I'm just saying the other things. It's full disclosure on 32.0 the project. I think the county project was ranked in the top 10 well for it. That ready 2.0 again we had. What was awarded $30 million for great funds. And I think 32 to 33 maybe in projects. So some had to trim down. Some had to we had conversations this tomorrow with IEC as far as what they're looking.
Let me ask you this, Brian, because I don't know how this would work. So if we were to do a swap, we could swap 2.0 into, so the fairgrounds project in for the pool. Does the pool then have to go back to the state and to the region to get selected for 2.0?
This would be the first time that I know of something like that. So I can't tell you that, but I think if the region is that project previously turned down in, but we need to be a commitment to that project. Last thing the region wanted for it to be flipped, for it to be flipped, and then to the pool project, then all on the wayside, because that pool project is, you would say, $30 allotted to that project, but we never did get that project that worked allotted to other projects in the region that perhaps appropriation standpoint. I ABC will approach that. I think that they would be agreeable to it, but there would need to be a commitment to doing both projects.
We can't afford it today, as we afford it in 3 years.
That's exactly what I was going to ask, is what changes from today to
Probably expensive.
Why flop? Yeah, the pool will be more expensive. If I were the region and we can't pull it off in Ready 1.0, I'm not going to put you in for Ready 2.0. You already didn't get the project. And if I'm looking at Ready 2.0, which I understand is $38 million worth of projects for $30 million worth of stuff, I know that I'm putting a Ready 2.0 project in for a county that can't do Ready 1.0 project, especially if it was top 10 in the state. And that's how I operate in the region. So that's how I would look at it if I were sitting on that state. I can't come up with money to do this. We're at $5 or $6 million in January to do this. We could get that pool into 5 or 6. I don't know how it changed from the vote in January to 5 to 6 million to 4. But that's what council voted on. We'll get it under 6 million. That was the task at hand for HWC and our alternative when they were put out to start design. They came back at 6.5. Worst case scenario was move the move. So we're going to kill it and then try to flop. But we can't afford it anymore in 3 or 4 years than we can right now. And we lose ARPA towards it. So now we're gaining $500,000 in 2.0, but we're losing $1.5 million. And what's the fair projects of the public on those? What potentially is being put in front of us?
Community building, grandstands, some sort of horse arena. I'm just saying that if three of us voted for a $6.5 million pool, and it has to go to the council, and the council says no, which it wouldn't go to their meeting tomorrow, it would go to their meeting in July, and they say no, then everything is lost. Ready 1.0, correct, Brian?
Yeah, the region projects, committed to or was on by August 1st, because the state is asking for it in September. There's still some wiggle room there in August, but it's getting more close. State is done.
I don't have any interest in moving already to a project that's ready. We can't figure it out. We've talked about it for the last 8 months, how to pay for it. The goal line keeps moving. And we keep other projects that we can't afford on the table. Talk about it. I don't know how we responsibly do another project.
Jeremy?
I'm running through some scenarios in my head here. Because one thing that could change in several years or before we are now is, again, these are ifs. If the road use agreement and decommissioning agreement are sorted out for the battery storage facility, and that project starts construction and comes online, we start receiving payments, second development payments in the future. And the heat capture economic development payments up near St. Paul, that's something that could change. Now, there's a payment, that money right now is what would, in 18 months, be used for paying off the highway garage.
That was the intent when we started.
That money would have to be allocated from council, correct?
What's that, probably not gonna come into 26. I think it all is a year behind, year after it's built. All right, Brian?
What's that?
A year after it's operated, when the economic development money starts coming in.
Yeah.
Did I read that right? If it's done on December the 31st of next year, December 31st for 26.
Yeah, I just want to also qualify that. That's not have everything in place.
Right. Right. No, that's why I said it's a big if, and it's something that could change, but it's not. Right. So I mean, that's something that,
And we can't afford it.
what's that?
We can't afford it now.
And that's something that if we get somewhere here in a year where operations are moving forward, or construction is moving forward in that project, where things are hammered out, and we have the ability to pay the highway garage off early, we have the funds that would potentially be available.
So we're gonna play it maybe if we'll do the pool later. If that goes through at higher cost. While we save money if we get into problems, and we might have to pay for the highway garage. I mean, it's just a lot of ifs. And I've been asking all these questions for the last 8 months, so what do we have to pay for? Where's it coming from? Where's it going? So we can make this big decision.
What's your solution?
I took it there and edit. The question still goes back to what I started with. What are we saving $2.3 million for? What do we have $960,000 a year coming in for with $206,000 budgeted out?
2.3 million in edit doesn't cover it.
Correct. It's a savings account.
If you use all of the money in edit right now, you don't cover it.
I'm not talking about using the savings. The revenue for edit is $960,000 a year. The budget money that actually gets paid out is $206,000. There's $700,000 less payments for the 8.
And when we have to pay for park room,
Then the county highway is supposed to take care of that. That's what highway money is supposed to do. Which is what the highway department said they could pay, because I asked.
and then the $1.8 million shortfall.
That's been the conversations for the last 8 months. So again, back to the conversation. So we'll flip it and we'll pay for it for 3 years. None of those conversations that you just had go away. It's a 10-year shortfall.
In that motion, you only had it was $1,040,000 last year, and this year it's $960,000. It might continue to be. Or maybe count on 960. That's bad, I guess.
Sure. Sure. No, I had a conversation after the November election. When I was voted into office, I had my first discussion about this pool. And the discussion included the food and beverage tax. And from my understanding about the county's finances at that point, which is more enlightened now than where it was then, I did not believe that we could afford to without food and beverage tax to be financially responsible with the county's money. That was my feeling back then. It's not advocating for a food and beverage tax. It's just realizing like where we should be putting money. That's been my feeling on it pretty much all along. That if we had that 1% food and beverage tax, even if you capped the number of years on it, that would be the way that we built the pool.
I just have a hard time going $6 million in debt for something that's used 6 weeks a year.
And it's not used 6 weeks. I mean, we're looking at least 8 to 10 usually. I understand.
Open Memorial Day, close it up when school starts.
Well, we stay open a couple weekends after spring. It's about an 8. It's at least an 8 week.
I can argue the same thing, very honest though. I mean, it's an event center that's getting used. We don't utilize our property now for events. We run stuff 1 week a year out at the fairgrounds for the grandstand area. The horse arena, when I talk to the horse people, they use it maybe once a week. I mean, the usage for all of these projects we're talking about is very. We talk about, oh, well, it could be. Who's going to do that? We're going to hire another person to market the event center and schedule it, make sure it's clean, and do all those things to get into that. It could be used more, but it's still not going to be utilized. Or the 6 weeks times 7 days. 10 weeks times 7 days, you're talking 70 days. So we're going to use more than 70 days a year.
Just to be clear on that, just fine. Yeah, so I'm clear, I guess. We have 3 million in grants, right? So,
3-5 minutes. Right. I mean, none of the projects that are ready are things that are getting used every day all year long by large numbers of people from the citizens. We were averaging 12,000 visits a year when the pool was in decent condition, even in that 10 weeks. Other than 1 week a year, that fairgrounds doesn't see 12,000 people. But that means it's not worth having.
I'm with Tony in that I don't think we swap projects. I think it's too big of a risk that if it's something that we want that badly, then we need to figure it out this year.
We'll say on that, sorry.
No, you're fine, Brett.
It really depends on how shovel ready the county project is as well. They're ready to start building access, draw down those ready one funds that will help unlock ready two funds. Because in order to access ready two funds, you have to have 65% of ready one fund drawn down already. And if the county is ready to go on that, and I'm not asking the fairgrounds project, but if they are ready to go, if they would make significant draws on that project, or for that matter, if there's another project in the ready, that we switch that was ready to go, and we get to that 65% by the end of this year, you might be able to stay on the time schedule. That makes sense.
It does. Is there any way that you can figure out the process? Because my biggest concern, the reason I'm most hesitant on swapping the projects is if the pool project has to be re-approved. That's my biggest concern, because then if our fairgrounds project was ranked in the top 10, I don't know how the committee would view the pool project. Like Tony was saying, if we haven't gotten it done at this point, how are they going to rank us with the ability to get it done in the future?
Yeah,
That's my biggest concern on flipping projects.
That's the biggest that's the biggest worry. Lot these funds. That's happening. Take these funds away essentially from other projects that might be ready to go. So you have to have a direct commitment.
And if we can do that, just move forward.
I know Tony and I have asked, Danny, is there any other avenues budgeting wise?
Now,
Are there any other avenues from council's perspective, or I guess Bill, for the pool, other than using edit funds?
that would be it. And maybe like you was talking, some of those economic development payments, once they start coming in, we'll have to write an ordinance on how they're. But so, I mean, it can be, some of them can be directed towards that. I've seen them directed toward fixing our buildings and things. Does that make sense? But I do, we've got things that really need to be repaired.
When the council voted, committed to the $5 to $6 million range in January, what was the plan?
I didn't hear what was.
When the council voted in January to build a $5 to $6 million pool, and the commissioners spent $40,000 on the design, what was the plan to pay for it then?
We would probably sit down with Ruben, try to figure out a plan, but there's 6.5 right now. The preferred is 6.9. So we're not between 5 and 6 million. We're at 6.5.
And they sat on commissioners could reduce a lot of things from 5 to 3. We could take things out. A lot of worst case scenario. Commissioner, of course, said he had somebody volunteer to demo the pool and get the prep done. That saves us $150,000 right off the front end. So, and 6.5 gets to 6 pretty fast. So, what changed from when the council voted 5 to 6 million to what Mr. Forrest communicated at 4 million?
I didn't make a comment for
I
it.
didn't.
I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know where that came
I didn't make a comment.
That's
I've
four
yet to
seven
see it.
commissioners saying they didn't make that. So Mark,
I've yet to
you
see
said
it.
4 council members told you the number was 4 million. I talked to 2. You said that they didn't talk to you about it at all. And there's another 2 telling you they didn't say that. So that's,
Oh,
that only leaves 3.
We're not gonna say 10 million.
Like I said, 5 to 6. And it was
Well,
communicated to us was 4. And that's a big change.
That's all I wanted to spend to begin with, $4 million.
We spent money as commissioners on 5 to 6 because we had to go. And we just wasted months of time and $40,000 to get where we're at.
Fellas, we need to put something to a vote. We're gonna be here for a couple of days.
I think I was under the understanding to use some of that's. That was May, but. The county's investments,
From where? I mean,
well, our savings are what we got on CDs.
they're divided between different funds.
I know, see, I know how it works now.
Those need their pieces of investment.
They got to stay there, yeah, I realize that. But I think that was not very clear at the time.
I'm not comfortable with spending edit money with the varying nature of how much we're bringing in every year. I'm not comfortable with big edit lines to the pool. I don't think financially it is the right way to use those funds when I look through my short list here of what we will need. So I don't like that idea of using edit funds for it.
So are you in favor of a pool and borrowing money and terming it out to where maybe EDA payments cover it, or just trying to get a handle here whether we're going to go or with a pool or no pool?
I don't think right now the pool is the financially right move for the county. As much as I would like to see one, my daughter would love it. I don't think that financially it's the right move to make.
I don't think we have a clear picture of what is financially right. With that, I think that this board and the council need to work very difficultly and diligently to come up with a plan to put all of these projects on a table and to figure out what they're going to cost and how to pay for them. I'll beat the dead horse until my last day as commissioner, because that's what this has to happen. We have so many projects on the table and no plan to actually pay for them. It's what I battled when I was the jail commander. It's what got us here with the pool in the first place. It's what's got the county highway garage and the predicament they're in. Is that we go day by day or month by month, and we don't really know. They've got dump trucks that are over 30 years old that should have been processed out. The election, we need election machines that are 20 years old that we're not cycling through. Computers not getting cycled through. It's an overly thing. We have to start planning. I feel that as commissioners, we should only be approving things that have to be done until there's a 10-year financial plan and a look at our infrastructure and assets that need to be. And other than that, we should only be fixing emergencies. So I'll second the motion and we don't move forward. And we don't swap rate projects.
I guess concur.
We did skip one item there, Mark, which is highly relevant to our discussion, I guess, this morning, the county financial review. We have solicited preliminary proposals after ARPA committee had committed $30,000 ARPA funds to do a county financial review and to generate a plan going forward so that we know financially where we are. It would be incredibly helpful. The conversations that we just had, did you guys have an opportunity to look through the information that was provided to us, what we're looking for, what we want out of this kind of a financial review?
I did.
My view on it is that we need it as inclusive as possible with the projected revenues and expenditures going forward, which would include building maintenance, any future projects that are coming down the pipe. I would like to see the study to be out past 5 years. I would like it to be in that 10-year mark so that it's something every 5 years or so we can have updated future. Was there something that you guys looked at from one of them? Because it's not exactly apples to apples on what they're saying they are capable of, what they believe we were looking for as far as the financial analysis. Was there something that you guys would want to have added to these proposals so that when we're looking at what they are capable of doing, we truly are comparing apples to apples?
Yeah, one of them talked about a 5 to 10 year capital improvement plan. I think that needs to be not just our finances, but also our buildings, vehicles, all roads. It needs to be inclusive of what our county revenues are projected to be. We're going to talk about gas revenues and decline since 2016. The state of Indiana's had a team of people trying to figure out how to keep the revenues coming down our gas tax revenue instead. I think someplace that works in those people of us with those trajectories and how to plan for this.
Do you want presentations so the entities that had submitted these proposals for Reedy Financial, Peters, Franklin, and then Baker Tilly, would you like to have presentations from them, or would you want to make a decision based on the information that was provided to us already?
Question and answer time. I see what their thoughts are and help direct my boss, educate me a little bit before I move forward.
Mark, your thoughts?
I would like to have it face to face.
I think that would be best so that we make sure that we have all the information so that we can cover as best we can the projections going forward into the future. And we can try and get that set up for the next meeting.
Very good. Guess we just got a few hits now, right? That's a lead.
One fuel bid is all it was. So. Another bid laying down there. The fuel bid first. Premier Energy. Offered for you. Tab there sticking out where the crosses are. $87 octane unleaded gasoline, $2.45.5. Bid discounts 20 cents, exempt taxes 35. Net price is $2.80, 80.5 cents. Part 2, automated fuel dispensary. 87 octane unleaded gasoline. $2, the net price is $2.97.5. And going back to the diesel. One diesel's $3.11. Sorry, $3.1112 gallon. Summer diesel off-road, 2.4203. Road fuel, summer, 2.9973. Winter off-road, 2.5223. Winter on-road, 3.0998. Country mark. Difference here is, but summer off-road, 2.45 or 4653. And on-road is 3.0423. Winter country mark. Off-road is 2.5353. And winter on-road is 3.1123. Being the only bidder. Chad can review those and talk.
I sent that bid, as far as that bid went out to 3 different companies. So I don't know if it was out of their territory or their hall, but 3 mirrors on one.
Shipping seal. You want to read these?
First one here is from Low Asphalt.
Yes. Well, there's 4 copies. We can follow along.
51. Bill. It looks like we got all the paperwork here. So I'm looking. Just being that I'm new, I'm still trying to learn all this. So I think I'll hold it. Fit form. Broke this down into 4 different projects. Project number 1 is, it was 391, 991.79. Project number 2 is 355, 933.99. Project 3, $520,513.16. Project number 4, that 335 mark, 335,959.16 for a total bid of $1.604,398.10. Slow asphalt.
This is chip and seal.
That is correct. Chip and seal. Next one looks like it is from Pavement Solutions. Looks like we've got some bid documents.
Page.
And Pavement Solutions, project number 1. Total amount, 352,595.99. Project number 2, 320,161.19. Project number 3, 468,199.456. And project number 4, 302,194.96. For a total cost of $1,443,151.70. That is Payroll Solution. Evergreen Road. Evergreen Road Works. Project number 1. $373,550.23. Project number 2, $340,390.63. Project number 3, $491,737.12. And project number 4, $322,022.92. Total bid, $1,527,700.90. Looks like the lowest Which paving solutions? $1,443,151.
That's to chip seal about 83 miles of road.
That's correct.
Oh.
Yeah.
Just to get that out there. 83 miles of road is $600 just to chip. $17,376. How many miles of road did I get?
636. 569 of them are asphalt, 73 miles are gravel, and 3 miles of concrete, and 1 unimproved.
Big reminder of how big a task it is to try to complete all that.
Yeah. Well, our camera view was we'd rather do HMA overlay than get a new road. But we also have a lot of roads out there that was paved several years ago. We just need to do something to try and save them. So that's our plan.
Like down all the chip seals, we do it too much. That was it's the drop offs on the side. Unintended. I'm gonna get some long and crease bigger.
So you need all these? Jim?
Yes, they are confidential until it's good. You're gonna take them in, gonna review them or take them under advice.
Yeah.
Yes, we will take
3 versions.
I think we've covered about everything today. Ron,
Didn't get to hear me talk. Asking you up to lunch.
you read all those bids. How
Lots of
about
bids.
Yes, we can, as long as you got the bones. Yeah, we'll do it at the next meeting. Your report, Todd.
Please, thank you. Let's go. County been operating roads, along some roadsides have been getting called in by some of the customers at the county, also doing some bushwhacking. We've been doing some patching. I actually had a patching demo last week. A company came by, went up and did the patch up at, we didn't have enough material to do the full patch, but we worked up by Love's Truck Stop. And it looked like that patch material would heat. Tackle 4, put it down, so it looked like it's sold. So we've been out doing bridge maintenance. I'd like to report all 3 entry drivers have got through their theory, the range, and now they're doing the behind wheel. They did all get their permit, so they're out driving in the county, getting some experience, getting ready to go take the test, get their CDL. I had a meeting with NDOT 2 Fridays ago on site. It was about some work there's going to do in the county on State Road 3 and 46. There's a structure repair down by Letts that they're going to be doing. It's not going to be any road closure on that. Maybe flatter where it'd be down to 1 lane, right there by the golf course, kind of across from the golf course, Richardson's yard. There's a pipeliner going out here on 3 and 74. That will not be a road closure as well. There's also a full pipe replacement on State Road 46 down there by the stack. That may be just a weekend closure. This project is not to let until 2026. Okay. And then the last thing I have is, in the past, I guess they had a proposal agreement from a consultant. If something was to happen, we have somebody on call. So I have Sherry here from USI put this agreement together. I would like for one of the commissioners to sign it. That way, if something happens from any other department, whether it be Board of Health, EMA, or any of those, they have an on-call, or not agreement, that they would come in and help us.
Some case of a tornado took.
Correct. Correct.
Fire.
Yeah. Is there anything I need to mention on that, other than that, Sherry?
I was gonna say, and we can also assist with other departments too, depending on what the needs are. I mean, USI is primarily civil engineering, surveying, but we have specialty services. So we do have drones available. We have inspection teams available. Again, like if a bridge is compromised, we've worked with Tim Wortman and Mark Moore, and of course now with Todd as well. But over the years, if they need us to do maybe a site study, on one of the roads, if there's an accident or anything, just to make sure, bigger site, or whether it's just speed study, speed limits, things of that sort. So this is our way that we can be of service. If in a pinch, the county highway needs somebody to come out and take a look, we can do that.
You said something about like tornado comes through doing good structural stuff or.
Yes, any kind of structure. We had that damage at St. Paul not too long ago.
Yeah.
But I don't think there was any structural damage, but
And I would add in flooding as well. We've
Correct.
certainly been around. We've helped Shelby County before as well, when it hit and FEMA got called aboard. So
Yeah, I know I worked a tornado once when I was on the road, that was kind of things, like how are we gonna deal with all these people where they go back to their house? Be good for Brad to have.
I think they've had this agreement it's been with USI in the past, but couldn't find the agreement. They just assisted us on something here recent. But I think ACON used to do that back in the day, and I think a couple of other companies. So we've kind of reached out to USI, and they came up with this proposal, and I think it's adequate. I think it's something that the county does need to do. You only pay for the services if they need call. It's got a rate on there. I think it's up to 12 days?
12 days.
Okay. Again, I'm new, there's so much stuff I'm learning, but this is another piece of it.
Good idea.
I do as well.
Make a motion to enter into the agreement.
I second.
Brian?
Yeah, I just want to be clear, back on the pool thing, the county is walking away from the pool project as far as ready goes to the 1.5. So we need to be a lot of different partners and figure the funds to go elsewhere. And we need to, it will be okay on the recalculate as far as the action goes, but it does affect the forward.
It's my understanding.
Yes.
As far as so
Unfortunately,
releasing the 1.5 million grant.
unfortunately, that's where we are. That's where we are.
Agreed.
So just to clarify, I'm just to let people know if they're calling, the pool project in is split dead and split. I mean, we're getting multiple calls now because it's hot and it's kind of slim, so.
The original financial plan to support the pool got voted down with food and beverage tax, and does not appear that there was any other financial way to pay for it.
Okay.
So
Thank you.
losing that revenue has made it essentially impossible or irresponsible.
Sure, do you need a copy, a signed copy of that?
It can also be sent to me later.
Okay.
Whatever works best.
All right.
Thank you.
Get to it.
Oh, thank you.
Anything else? Motion to recess.
Second.
Thank y'all for coming.